Yeah, so everyone, welcome back to the class on smart materials and structures. Can anyone just brief out what we dealt in the last class? Anyone? Do you remember about the linear Lynchworm motor, what we studied? So basically in the last class, we focused on Inchworm linear motor related to piezoelectric based actuators. So why it is needed in order to get very slight accurate movement as per the requirement. So we studied about the construction of linear Lynchworm linear motor and also how to operate it. So we dealt related to the operation process. Then we explained about how we apply the voltage step by step with respect to which are the clamps being locked and opened. So that also we dealt with respect to our input voltage signals where we have three patches P1, P2 and P3. So P1 and P2 was across the clamp A and B and P3 was across the moving body. So how we vary the voltage with respect to the actuator piezoelectric patch movement, we dealt about this. So all these were, we were studying about the piezoelectric stacks applied to an inchworm linear motor. So we usually pole the material of the crystal structure which is not symmetric in nature. But if the given crystal structure is symmetrical, so how the variation in our AbO3 structure comes into picture, this also we studied. So all piezoelectric material, whether it is lead or lead free, it lies within the AbO3 crystal structure, where A relates to all the alkaline elements which are present in your periodic table. So B refers to the transition elements which are across our periodic table. Just go and check with the periodic table. You will come to know which all the elements you can use for alkaline elements, which all the elements which come under the category of transition elements, and O stands for the oxygen element. So this crystal symmetry is been shown for 4 mm crystal symmetry. So where you will be having 4 planes of symmetry with respect to each other. So that also we studied. So with respect to that, the value of the capacitance across all these 4 mm, all the 4 planes will be the same. Similarly, the piezoelectric strain constant, piezoelectric stress constant will be the same across 3 planes I, J and K. And similarly, the relative permittivity or the dielectric constant will be same across 2 planes I and J. So these are the similar values what you get when the crystal symmetry is being achieved for any type of piezoelectric element. So this we had studied in our last class. And also we dealt about how to derive an active strain expression, right? When you have a thin piezoelectric slab. You know that if you have a thin piezoelectric slab and if you apply a mechanical load on it, it generates some amount of strain. So this strain developed will not be the value for the piezoelectric thin slab itself. It will be having both the values. So it will be having 2 parts. One is the elastic strain and other one is the piezoelectric strain. Because you will be having a structure on which a piezoelectric thin slab will be placed as a patch. So you will be having the strain induced in the structure as well as the piezoelectric thin slab. And the strain which has been induced will be within the elastic limit, what we call it as the elastic strain. This is associated to the structure on which the piezoelectric layer is being patched. And the other one is the piezoelectric strain. So this is the strain which has been induced only on the piezoelectric thin film, which is on the structure. Okay, so if you just see my hand as a structure or the substrate, above this substrate, a thin layer of piezoelectric film will be applied. So when you apply the load, even the structure gets deformed along with the piezoelectric layer. So the strain induced in the structure will be different and the strain induced in the piezoelectric material will be different. So total strain which has been induced will be the combination of the elastic strain or the structural strain it is called, plus the piezoelectric strain, or we also call this as an actuator strain. If you use a piezoelectric element as an actuator or an active element, then this is the strain which has been induced. So from here after, you have to keep in mind it is a combination of both. But the piezoelectric thin slab, what we use, will be of some particular thickness T. So if you want to derive an matrix for thickness of the slab, then you have to consider the transpose of it. So in that case, only the strain which has been induced in the piezoelectric element will be the combination of these values. So D31 is nothing but our piezoelectric coupling factor. Along with that, the magnetic electric field applied across the plane 3. Similarly, the piezoelectric charge coefficient across the plane 3, 2. And again, since it is 3, 2, it will be having the electric field applied along the third axis, so that is E3. And this is 0 because you are not subjecting anything related to the thickness. Thickness you are taking into the transpose form. So this will be the value of the strain induced in the piezoelectric material when you consider the thickness of a given slab. So this is a general equation what you have to consider. So two things you have to keep in mind. The strain induced in the given structure will be the combination of the substrate plus the piezoelectric thin slab. And when you consider the thickness of it, only the specific value for the piezoelectric strain will be the combination of the charge coefficient values along with the electric field in which direction the electric field is applied. So these things you have to keep in mind. So in these cases, the piezoelectric coupling components such as D33 or E33 will be the important phenomenon in the direction of third plane. So you have one plane in which the electric field will be usually applied, the third plane in which the polarization will be taking place, and the second plane in which we usually measure the thickness of the given slab. Okay, so these are the general things what you have to keep in mind. And lastly, if you want to generate strains along the given direction of a particular thickness of a particular specimen, it depends how the crystals are cut. Okay, so based on the required plane, whether you need an orthorhombic crystal structure, your rhombohedral, your tetrahedron, right? So it depends in which direction the crystal is cut. So based on that, the strain generated can be developed across that particular plane. Okay, so this is an general information about the active strain expression. So with all these concepts, you should now understand something called as what do you mean by the internally leveraged system. So in general, the leverage system, you know. So you get a particular leverage system when you exert a force by means of any lever mechanism, right? So now we are utilizing the same leverage system related to our piezoelectric material. In that case, you will be having the leverage system made up of actuators. Okay, so when we relate this to our piezoelectric material, then you should understand the actuators usually contain multiple piezoelectric elements. So with a single piezoelectric element, you cannot get the required work because you should get that much amount of voltage, right, to do some particular work. So here you have two effects. One is a direct effect and the indirect effect. So now you are using internal leverage system, means you need some mechanical displacement or deformation. For that, you will be applying the electrical voltage. So based on the electrical voltage applied, the material will be subjected to strain due to which the body gets displayed, right? So if you just use a single piezoelectric element, you cannot get the required displacement. So you should use multiple piezoelectric elements so that you get an amplified effect as an output where you get the required displacement or the moment for the required leverage system. Okay. So some simple example to achieve this is to make a piezo stack. So a piezo stack will be having n number of layers. A stack usually refers to n number of layers. So depending upon the amplified effect you need, you can pile up the piezoelectric layer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and clamp all together as a particular stack. Okay, so this will work out. So you should either try to get a piezoelectric stack where you'll be having n number of layers, which can also be called as piezoelectric wafers. So these are stacked together so that you will get the large deformation as required for the applied small amount of voltage. It should not happen like you're applying so large amount of voltage to get only a small amount of displacement. Then it is of no worth in using a piezoelectric actuator. So a piezoelectric actuator should be so active that with respect to the minimum voltage subjected, it should be able to give the required deformation. So that will be possible if you are piling up n number of piezoelectric element, because individual piezoelectric element cannot get or give the required large deformation. Okay. So as a result, this thing you have to keep in mind. So when it comes to the leverage system, basically you need and displacement due to the applied force. So that large amount of displacement could be achieved only if you make a piezo stack which consists of n number of piezoelectric wafers. With this, with a small input of voltage, it can give us the large deformations. So some of the configurations related to piezo-based leverage systems are rainbow, C-block, crescent forms. So these are the different configurations which are made based on the piezo material. So we have a number of piezo material. It could be PZT, lead-based titanium crystal structure, or it could be lead-free, such as KNN, yeah, BNT, yeah, BT, right? So based on how you mix and do the combinations, you can get the required different type of leverage systems. Okay, so these are some which are already being devised. The rainbow type of leverage system, C block. So these are given with respect to the shape, how the leverage system are developed. So in the form of rainbow, you will be having a leverage system. Rainbow consists of 7 colors. So in that way, you will be having the 7 layers of piezoelectric element. So based on the shape, you are having the name C block. So C again is C, which will be having a particular huge thickness. So to get that huge thick C, you should be having n number of layers of piezoelectric elements. Okay. So these are the configurations which are already there related to internally leveraged systems based on piezoelectric elements. Similarly, you have external leverage systems. Okay, so here what the name itself suggests, the external leverage system is you are using this for particular specific application. So you will be having Unimorph, Biomark, piezoelectric materials, they call in very common. Many journals are there related to Unimorph piezoelectric material, Biomark piezoelectric material. So what are these? You are piling one above the other, huge amount of layers of piezoelectric element for external applications. So in this, what happens basically is, so here you will be using the mechanical systems to amplify the output of piezoelectric actuators. So this is external leverage systems will be useful for direct piezoelectric effect. Means you will subject some mechanical load, your force, your pressure on the given piezoelectric stack so that it enhances the voltage which comes out of the piezoelectric element, right? So this is mainly for our direct effect of piezoelectric system. So you will be having here also n number of layers of piezoelectric. Here the layers of piezoelectric are called as unimorph. If you have a single patch of piezoelectric on the given structure, you call it as unimorph. If you have 2 layers, one above and one below, you can have, suppose if you have a substrate or a structure here, one patch of piezoelectric thin slab could be applied here and one patch could be applied at the bottom, or else both could be piled one above the other, or else you might be having a patch of piezoelectric element here and a tip mass here if you want to have an free movement like a cantilever. Okay, so this is how it could be achieved. So we basically use externally leveraged systems for providing the output of the piezoelectric in the form of voltage, which is mainly for direct piezoelectric effect. And we use internally leveraged system for our indirect piezoelectric effect, where mainly we focus on getting the enhanced displacement. Is this clear between the leverage systems, students? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So kindly listen carefully, then only you can understand the concepts. So now we know what you mean by piezoelectric element, its configuration, its characteristics, hysteresis law, ferroelectric nature, and also we studied about the inducement of the strain, how to form a relation. So the strain will be the combination of the structural strain plus a piezoelectric strain, and you know now how an actuator works. Related to that, we studied about the leverage systems. So now we should understand the interaction between an actuator and a structure, because actuator is nothing but our piezoelectric element and it cannot act by itself without any support. So if this is your structure or the substrate, above that we should be adding an layer of piezoelectric, so which is called as a patch, which will be acting as an actuator or a sensor based on the application. So whenever we need some displacement, we use an actuator and not a sensor, because actuators are the smart materials which are active and which is capable of doing work. The sensor can just sense the data and transfer that instructions to the controller, and controller will provide the instructions and help the actuator to work accordingly. So you should understand what is the interaction which come across between the structure and an actuator. Yes, so that we will be studying. So how the effect of the strain comes into picture. That is the main focus here. So you will and should understand this. So let us start up with the interaction policy of actuator with the structure. So here what happens is you will be having a piezo element. So when you use a piezo element, the strain in the piezo actuator, what you get is a result of the superposition of the two components. Suppose you have a structure and you have an actuator, right? So the strain is induced in both the structure as well as the actuator. So the resultant strain what you get is due to the superposition of both the components. It is not the result of only the actuator. You should keep in mind it is the effect of both the structure as well as the actuator. So on the whole, it has two components in it. Right? So in that, the free strain which is generated in the actuator or the piezoelectric element is called to be as a free strain. And the mechanical strain which is induced in the structure, and the mechanical strain, whenever we tell, that is the strain which has been induced on the structure in which the given actuator is resting. So you will be having two elements. You should be able to understand what you mean by piezo strain and what do you mean by the mechanical strain. So mechanical strain will be referred to the structure and piezo strain will be referred to our actuator, what we are using. Okay. So second point is, it would always result when some voltage is applied to the piezo elements. So this strain will be always induced when you apply some voltage to the given patch of PZT. PZT is nothing but lead zirconium titanate. It is nothing but the lead-based piezoelectric material. So here it has been explained with respect to taking one example. So because in previous decades only PZT was there, which has a huge market. So now it has been banned due to its toxicity. Okay. So this will happen only the piezoelectric strain or the mechanical strain can come into the structure or to the actuator only if when you apply some voltage across the piezo element. You won't be applying voltage across the substrate. Remember, you'll be applying the voltage only across the actuator. So due to this applied voltage, the piezo strain and the mechanical strain will be applied to the actuator as well as the structure. So this is how both will be interlinked. You should not get confused while evaluating the values of mechanical strain and piezo strain. To which you are evaluating, you should be very clear. Okay. So the strain components will be usually of opposite sign if the actuator is to develop a force on the structure. So if the actuator develops some force on the structure, always the strain components. So you have a structure and you have an actuator. So if any strain component, the strain component of both will be opposite in nature. If the actuator is causing any force on the structure or the substrate in which it is resting, then the piezo strain and the mechanical strain both will be of opposite sign. Okay, so same thing now you can understand here. Before starting up, I just showed you the concept. So you should be able to know what you mean by strain. Piezo actuator strain is referred by the relative per sigma to the suffix A. Okay, so this is a relative permittivity. So if it is suffixed with that of A, then it shows that it is the strain of the piezo actuator. Okay, so if it is just represented as a relative permittivity value with respect to P, then it is a free strain or the piezoelectric strain. So that you should understand. So now we'll come back to our diagram here. So here you can see you have a basic structure. So above the basic structure, you'll be having the PZT patch. So you might be having one patch at the top and one patch at the bottom, or you can be having the entire patch above the base structure. So this is how you have to understand. So when you have a PZT patch, it cannot work by itself because the material will be totally dielectric. So you should be having some conductivity in it to make the performance of the PZT patch to be active. So you need some conductive material. So that conductivity is achieved by adding some electrical conductive layer like silver paste at the top and the bottom. Here also at the top and the bottom you should apply. So this acts as an electrode, right? So when it acts as an electrode and when you subject some electrical field to it, it helps to absorb some amount of electrical voltage. So due to this, the deformation which has been caused will help in causing the required displacement and do the work, right? And hence you should make the dielectric material to be conductive. For that we need the electrodes. So here also we should see the direction. So this is x-axis here is considered to be as 2 and y-axis to be considered here as 3 and the z-axis is considered here to be as 1. So 2 axis will be nothing but the direction in which the electric field will be applied. 3 will be the direction in which the polarization has been done, and the thickness of the given patch of piezo is been measured across the Z. So after understanding this, you should now see that we are using this geometry to develop a force on the structure. So when you develop some force on the structure, it shows that the strain, the relative permittivity value, the piezoelectric relative permittivity value will be always greater than the relative permittivity of the actuator. So what do you mean by this equation? You know that you have a device here. It has been developed to get the required displacement. So when you apply some load on it, so strain will be generated. So the strain induced, the free strain, okay, will be always greater than that of the actuator strain. The actuator strain will be bounded with respect to the restrictions because it is attached to the base structure. It is not only the relative permittivity value of the piezo element. It is a combination of both. But when you speak about the permittivity strain, it is only the strain what you get based on the PZT patch. So this relative permittivity of the piezoelectric, which is called as free strain, will be always greater than that of the relative permittivity of the actuator. Okay, so this is a concept what we have to keep in mind while getting the equation. So based on the free strain, now you have one more equation. The free strain depends only upon the piezoelectric modules and applied electric field. So again, when you go for free strain, it is only the piezoelectric element. You won't be having a single layer of piezo element. So you will consist in piezoelectric device, which is nothing but it has n number of stacks, which is nothing but one module of piezoelectric. So that one module of piezoelectric will be having n number of layers. So the free strain, what you are getting depends upon the module of piezoelectric, how many layers of piezoelectric layer you have in it. So what is the number of the stacks you have in the piezoelectric module? So based on the number of layers of the stack, the free strain also can increase. If you have like around 15 layers of piezoelectrics, right? So that is called to be as one stack, then the free strain value will be different. If you have only 10 layers in the piezoelectric module, then the free strain what you'll be getting will be still reduced. So it depends upon the number of layers you have in the piezoelectric module, so that the strain generated will keep on varying. And also the strain generated will vary with respect to the applied electric field. So these are the two parameters on which the free strain depends. One is the piezoelectric module and the amount of electric field applied. So with the combination of these two, you can evaluate what is the strain, piezo strain or the free strain induced in the given device. So for that, this is the always the relation what we use, okay, to evaluate the free strain. So the free strain will be always equal to the voltage induced. Okay, so we will call this as D. So this is a displacement what we get across the desired plane into the voltage which has been applied across a PZT patch of particular thickness T. Because every piezo patch will be having some amount of thickness. So the amount of voltage which has been applied to that piezo patch depends upon the thickness of the given slab also, right? So that value into the displacement what you are achieving, because you apply the electrical voltage. So when you apply the electrical voltage, you are applying to a particular sample. That sample will be having some amount of thickness, right? So for the applied electrical voltage, you get some deformation, which is nothing but D. So that deformation depends upon the particular plane in which you are applying. So based on the amount of voltage applied and the displacement achieved, in that you can calculate the amount of strain induced. Okay, so this is only the free strain what we are speaking about. So the free strain mainly depends upon the voltage applied with respect to the piezo element, that is nothing but our piezoelectric module, and the amount of displacement what we are achieving. These are the general equations what you should be very thorough enough. Okay. So next, we just got studied related to the free strain. So along with that, you should now understand few other concepts. So the name free strain always reflects that no stress accompanies the development of piezoelectrically induced strain. So when you say that free strain, it is only the total value of the strain of a particular piezo element where the stress is not related either directly or indirectly, right, in any piezo element. So here we are just explaining with respect to an lead-based piezoelectric element, which is PZT. PZT stands for lead zirconium titanate. So when you think in the mind free strain, it is total strain of the piezo material without any relation with respect to the stress. Okay. So this is the thing what you have to understand. And in many applications, the polling axis of the piezo patch is normal to the surface to which the patch is bonded. So suppose you see, so this is the PZT patch, and the polling axis will be always normal to the direction in which the patch has been applied, because it mainly depends upon, you have to shift the, because every PZT patch will be having n number of molecules. It will be arranged in random. We have studied polarization phenomena early, right? So in order to get aligned in a particular direction, it's always very careful. You should be careful to identify the axis in which you will do the polarization. And the thumb rule is that always we select the direction of polarization perpendicular to that of the direction in which the patch is applied. Means it will be normal to the direction of the patch what you have applied. So that is the second thumb rule what you have to understand. And next is the electrodes are then on the surface of the PZT parallel to the structure. And you might be having doubt where the electrodes have to be applied. You can even make applying silver paste across these two surfaces, right? So if you do like this, it will be perpendicular to the structure because you are applying the electric field in the direction here towards x-axis. So with the direction of the axis in which you are applying the electric field, in the same direction you should apply the electrodes. Electrodes are nothing but the silver paste what you apply across the top and the bottom, and that should be always parallel to the direction in which the electric field is applied, and this direction will be always parallel to the base structure. So always you should apply the electrode across the plane in which the base structure is been aligned. Mean to say that the electrode what you apply which should be parallel to the base structure. So this is the second thumb rule what you have to understand. Okay. So then if you follow all these concepts, then the free strain, whether it is across 1 plane or 2 plane, it will be equal to the same value. Okay. So this will be nothing but D31 is nothing but the electromechanical coupling coefficient. Okay, electromechanical coupling coefficient will tell you what is the conversion factor from electrical voltage to that of mechanical energy, or from mechanical energy to that of electrical voltage. Since we are speaking with respect to actuator, we will take the output of the voltage. So you will subject the electrical voltage and get the required deformation, right? So this D31 will tell you the conversion factor. So by seeing the D31 value, you can see that how much voltage is usefully converted into the mechanical displacement. If D31 value is lesser, so then you can evaluate what is the performance of that particular actuator. So the good coupling factor value will tell you that it has a better capability to do the function and get the required displacement. So the strain induced here will be the same, okay, either in 1 plane or 2 plane. So that will be equal to the product of electromechanical coupling coefficient factor into the amount of voltage you are subjecting for that piezoelectric module of particular thickness T. So this is how you should understand the thumb rules so that you can get the values of the free strain either in 1 plane or 2 plane. Further, you should still understand few more terms. I hope until here it is clear. Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So further, the piezoelectric actuator is aligned with x-axis of the basic structure that I have told you already. Okay, this is the structure. The structure is aligned across the x-axis, and here the x-axis is named to be as 2. I have explained this already. Okay, so if you align the piezo structure along the x-axis, then the free strain what we get will be as shown in the equation 2.12. Okay, so yeah. So this will be the free strain what we will be getting. So this also I have explained. So the strain in base structure which has only mechanical component will be denoted by epsilon naught to the epsilon to the suffix s. So this in the beginning only I told. The mechanical strain which has been induced in the structure will be represented by epsilon to the suffix s. Okay. And apart from that, due to this deformation, there will be Young's modulus which comes into picture. Young's modulus always comes into picture when you have stress and strain factors which keeps on varying. So the Young's modulus of the base structure and of the piezoelectric actuator from here onwards will be represented by E suffix S and E suffix A. So if you go through E suffix A in future, you should be able to tell that this is the Young's modulus of the piezoelectric actuator. If it is E suffix S, then you have to understand this as an Young's modulus of the structure on which you are placing the actuator. So even as the strain is different for the actuator as well as the structure, even the Young's modulus what you will be getting will be different for both the two components. So all these are the thumb rule what I am telling you, and how the equations of free strain could be derived with respect to this thumb rule. So next is, when you apply an electrical field to an piezo element, it will always develop an additional strain. What do you mean by this additional strain? Because it has been superimposed on a mechanical structure. Why? Because you'll be having a structure and you'll be having an actuator. So when you apply an electrical field across the piezo element, it will develop across the piezo element. So it will develop an additional strain because it has its own strain, what we call it as a piezo strain. Along with that, since it is resting on the structure, the mechanical strain which is developed on the structure will be superimposing along with the free strain of piezo material. So this is due to the combination effect what we get. Okay. So that thing you have to consider. All this we are explaining because we are trying to get the interaction between the substrate or the structure with the actuator. So we are checking all the possibilities which can come into picture. So that things you have to keep in mind. So due to this type of combination, it always develops the additional strain, which will be superimposed with the mechanically induced strain on the structure. So what it helps in doing, so it results in discontinuity in strain across the actuator and structure interface. Okay, so this is the main thing you have to understand. You will be having piezo strain here, you will be having the mechanical strain here. Along with that, a superimposed strain comes into picture due to the additional strain which you get with the combination of the piezo strain and the mechanical strain. So this effect will help in removing the discontinuity of the strain between the structure and the piezo element. If there is no discontinuity, then you cannot bifurcate the free piezo strain and the mechanical strain. So you should understand, due to the superimposed effect, there will be no strain effect in between the interface. Interface is nothing but the surface, the top surface of the substrate and the bottom surface of the actuator, where it is interfacing with each other. So at that surface, there will be a discontinuity in the strain and there will be no connectivity across the surface of the structure and the bottom surface of the actuator, and hence it will be having a discontinuity in the strain. This you have to understand. So next is, the magnitude of this discontinuity will be always exactly equal to that of the free strain. Okay. So what is the discontinuity? What is the magnitude of the discontinuity which can come across in between the substrate and the actuator? Will be always equal to half the value of the piezo strain or the free strain, right? So this is the second concept what you have to understand. And it is always independent of any mechanical loading or deformation. And this magnitude of discontinuity in the strain what you achieve is always independent of the mechanical loading what you are getting or the deformation, because even the structure gets deformed due to mechanical strain and the actuator gets deformed due to the piezo strain. So this magnitude of discontinuity which happens between the structure and the actuator is totally independent of the deformation which is taking place either in the structure or in the actuator. So this is the next concept what you have to keep in mind. And next is, the sign of the mechanical and the piezoelectric component of the strain cannot be or may not be the same. Okay, I also told you it depends upon the direction. So mechanical strain and the piezo strain could be of opposite sign convention, and sometimes it could be of same convention. It is not necessary that both the signs will be always the same. It depends upon the direction in which it is having the movement and in the direction in which the electrical field has been applied. So this is the one more concept what you have to understand with respect to actuator and structure interface. And next concept is, so when you have a piezo element attached to the structure, it cannot expand freely, but rather is constrained to undergo some displacement. So when you have a PZT, suppose this is a structure and this is the PZT or the piezo element which is on the surface. So it cannot be freely placed. It has to be constrained at one end. It could be constrained at this towards your right, or it could be constrained towards your left. You cannot leave that freely. Okay, so you will constrain at one end so that you can see the displacement which is taking place in the actuator as well as the structure. You cannot place it freely. So this is one more concept what you have to understand. So when it is constrained and subjected to some electrical voltage, then it moves front and back with respect to the deformation based on the applied voltage. So that you can evaluate only if it has been constrained at one end. So this is the other concept what you have to understand. So in that case, when it is constrained at one end, the structure will be subjected to tractions. Why it is subjected to tractions? Because it also gets deformed and you have an actuator above, so in which even the patch of the piezoelectric gets expanded. So due to this movement, the structure what you are using as a substrate or the support to the actuator will be subjected to tractions. And the traction which has been generated will be in the direction of the expansion of the patch. Suppose if you have a structure and you have an actuator, if it is constrained at this end towards your right and you apply electrical voltage, then the traction will be generated in the structure due to the deformation which come across in the actuator. If the actuator is displaced, is deforming in this direction, okay, means it is moving in towards the left, then the traction which has been developed in the structure also will be in the direction in which the displacement of the actuator is happening. Suppose if you have a structure and you have an actuator and the actuator is constrained towards your left. So if it is constrained like this, then what happens when you apply the electrical voltage, then the actuator will move towards your right. Right? So then the traction which is generated in the structure also will be towards your right. So it depends upon the direction in which the actuator or the PZT patch is expanding. So this is one more concept what you have to understand. So in this case, the net strain which is in the structure and the actuator will be in opposite sign. I told you the strain which has been generated in the structure and the actuator could be same or it could be different. Okay, so when you have the expansion in the same, when you have the expansion of a piezo patch, you will be having the traction in the same direction. Due to this, the strain which has been generated in the structure will be in the opposite direction to that of the strain induced in the piezo patch. And this is the reason to get opposite sign convention in the strain what you measure. So the strain measured across the piezo patch is a free strain and the strain measured across the structure is a mechanical strain. So these two will become negative when the tractions are generated. So this sign becomes negative when you have huge amount of tractions. So huge amount of tractions you get when the expansion of the piezo patch is more. This happens in a good piezoelectric material because it will be able to respond with large deformation for subjecting amount of small voltage. If it have the deformation of very less value for large amount of voltage applied, then the traction induced in the structure will be very less. So in that case, what happens is you won't be having any opposite sign here because the amount of traction generated is very less and it is negligible. If you have a good amount of expansion in the piezo patch for very small amount of voltage induced, then large amount of tractions will be in the structure and as a result, it will be having a high value of tractions, and in that case, the strain which has been measured across the piezo patch and the structure will be having the opposite sign. So you should understand when and how you should apply these sign conventions. So the next we have a derivation actually. I will just explain you one condition. The next condition will go with the next class. Actually, we missed yesterday 2 classes, or else we would have covered these. Anyhow, no problem. We will go. Main thing is you should understand the concepts. So now you have understood the interaction between the actuator and the structure. So with respect to the interaction, which are the thumb rules need to be followed. So based on these thumb rules, now we should derive small equations. Okay. So we will just focus on one condition now. It is 1022. One thing is axial motion of rods. So here what happens is, you have different conditions when mechanical loading is taking place. Okay, so again you have one more condition where the loading you have with respect to the actuator. So first we will focus with respect to the mechanical loading, then we will subject it with respect to the actuator loading, because in the actuator you will be first subjecting the amount of voltage applied, and then you will get the deformation, or else you will apply the mechanical loading and you get the voltage. So one is for the direct effect and other one is for the indirect effect. So first we are considering only for mechanical loading, means you apply the mechanical load and get the required voltage. Okay, so this is with respect to the axial motion of the rods. So why motion of the rods comes into picture here? This is related to the diagram here. The rod is nothing but the substrate or the structure. So now the PZT patch is nothing but our actuator. So we have studied already the interactions between an actuator and an structure. So the same concept we will be applying to derive some equations of stresses and strain. Okay. So in that, the first condition is related to the mechanical loading. So what you have to understand here is, okay, so the piezoelectrically induced axial displacement of a rod. So this is the rod. So this is the rod or the structure on which you have the PZT patch. So the direction in which the deformation comes into picture is along the x-axis. So this x-axis is called to be as axis 1 also, and the direction of the force is parallel to the direction of our x-axis. So this is the first thing as shown in the figure. So you will get the displacement towards our x-axis. Okay, and then as shown in the figure. So this figure consists of a flat bar to which we have attached 2 PZT patches. So this bar is nothing but our structure. To the given substrate, here 2 patches of piezoelectric are applied. So this is one patch of PZT and this is the other patch of the PZT. Okay, so you have the 2 patches, and the amount of voltage which has been applied to the patch 1 is shown here. So it has plus terminal here and minus terminal here. Again, you will apply the voltage. I told you that we can get the displacement only when you apply some amount of voltage. So the voltage is applied across the electrodes. And I told the electrodes will be always applied parallel to the surface of the substrate. So you'll be having one layer of electrode here, one layer of electrode at the bottom. Similarly, for the second patch, you will be having one layer of the electrode here and one layer of the electrode at the bottom. So across the electrodes, you will apply the voltage. So this will be the positive terminal and this will be the negative terminal. Similarly, here the positive terminal and the negative terminal. So the device is kept ready. So later, these are attached to a controller circuitry. So the given device has to be attached to a circuitry system, okay, because you need to evaluate the displacement what you get. So the third part is it has to be connected to a circuitry system so that they expand and contract together. That you have to evaluate. So when you apply the electrical voltage to the given device here, where you have two patches, so it can expand and then it can contract also. So about the strain which has been induced have to be measured. So to measure that, you should be having an connectivity. So that is achieved through the internal circuitry system. Okay. So when you connect that together, it helps in expanding and contracting together, and hence it helps to induce the strains and stresses. Okay. So then you can evaluate what is the amount of stress generated and what is the amount of strain induced. And second thing is, the rod here can be loaded by an external force. So I have shown you the diagram. So this is the device construction. So you will be having the structure and the piezo patch, and the structure here could be subjected to the external force. So it will be in the direction in which the substrate is mounted. Okay. So based on this concept, so we have to calculate the strain and the stress distributed. So I'll just cover only this part, mechanical loading, and I will stop for the day. So this is the basic concept, how the piezo patch is placed on the given flat bar and where the voltage has been applied, which are the layers of the electrode, and where the force has been applied on the given substrate, and finally how we determine the stress and strain distribution. So this is only the mechanical loading part. So here, as shown in the diagram, the strain generated will be uniform across the PZT patch. Okay, so the strain is uniform throughout the section as shown in the diagram here. So this is a 2.7 diagram. So you have a PZT patch, right, which is mounted on a rod. So this is the patch 1 and this is the patch 2. You can see the strain which has been distributed is uniform across the given two patches. Okay, so in that case, the stress which is the stress which has been there in the material will differ because their elastic moduli are unequal. I told you the concept. The elastic moduli of the substrate will be different and the elastic moduli of the piezo element will be different. So based on this, we assume that the elastic moduli of the actuator will be greater than elastic moduli of the structure. So this thumb rule also we have studied already in the studying part of actuator and the substrate interaction relation. The same concept we are applying here. Even though the strain generated is uniform, since the elastic moduli is unequal, the elastic moduli of the actuator and the elastic moduli of the substrate will be different. In that also, the elastic moduli of the actuator will be more. So in that case, how you derive the stress distribution for 2 is in this way. So the stress across the substrate will be equal to the elastic modulus across the substrate into the strain across the substrate. So this is a general equation, very common equation, what you will be using very frequently. Even though the strain distribution is uniform across the given rod and the piezo patch, you will be showing the variation in the equations what we evaluate for the stress across the substrate and stress across the actuator. So similarly, the stress across the actuator will be equal to the elastic moduli which is generated across the actuator and the strain which has been generated across the substrate. Okay, so these are the two equations what we use to determine the stress across the substrate and stress across the actuator. Actuator here is nothing but the piezoelectric patch. Don't get confused. We are using mechanical loading, means to evaluate the displacement. In that case, you apply the voltage. In that case, it deforms. Due to deformation, it causes strain. Okay. So based on the strain induced, we will evaluate the stress. So for the equation of stress, you should be having two concepts. One is the elastic moduli will be different for two material. Second thing is elastic moduli of the piezo element will be more than that of the substrate. So based on that, the normal stress equation you will define in this way for both the substrate as well as the actuator. So rest I will continue in the next class. So here next we will be focusing on actuator loading separately. It is little bit lengthier. So we'll go step by step or else you'll get confused. So now I'll be stopping the class. If you have any doubts, kindly please ask on. The concept should be very clear, right? Because you have studied many things related to mathematical modeling, different constraints for mathematical modeling when the circuitry system is closed and opened. And also you have studied about the actuator, substrate interaction. Now we are trying to evaluate the free strain and the substrate strain, which is nothing but our mechanical strain. In that, even though the stress is uniform, we will define the stress equation separately for the stress, for the structure as well as the actuator. Why? Because of variation in the elastic modulus of the PZT material as well as the substrate. So these are the general equations what we are following, which are very much in need, and the thumb rule to proceed further. So if you have any doubts, please kindly ask.
No, ma'am.
No doubts? Is it understandable?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So everyone kindly answer the attendance. Sandesh,
Yes, ma'am.
Mithun,
Yes, ma'am.
Danush,
Yes, ma'am.
Mohan Ambal,
Yes, ma'am.
Sukrut,
Yes, ma'am.
and Sri Harsha is in your batch only, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, no, this time I could not see him, and even the list which has been provided from the office, in that also his name is not visible. So I just asked for an confirmation. And one more thing, after some time I'll be posting a quiz related to the last class. So you kindly submit it on time. I'll be scheduling a minimum of 15 minutes. So within that, you please try to complete the quiz. So in the next class, we deal with specifically for actuator loading, how we determine or evaluate the stress distribution and the strain distribution with respect to the piezo patch and the rod, which is nothing but our structure. So for evaluating these equations very clearly, you should be knowing the thumb rules, what I explained you today related to the actuator and structure interactions. So once that is clear for you, we have one more Bernoulli module what we have to do it. So that we'll do further. So once that is done, that will complete our module 1. It is a huge syllabus of 10 hours. So see that you concentrate and do well. You will get some numericals also. We need to practice some numericals as well. We would have covered many things. Yesterday we just missed up. Any other internships you have in future? Or it is done?
Still, it's there, ma'am. Still, we are processing over it, ma'am.
Okay, like how many days you need to go still? Are the days been decided? Yeah, how it is?
As per the syllabus, it is mentioned we have to do for 6 weeks, ma'am.
Okay, okay. 6 weeks continuously you have to do it. That could not be done either on Saturdays like that.
That's what, ma'am. We have to confirm with that with related to company things, ma'am.
Yes, so that
So
the
that
main thing is you won't be losing any theory classes, and parallelly your internship could also be gone, or else at the end like it becomes difficult to complete the portions. Okay, so you just speak with your industry people if that could be changed so that you won't be missing any classes. That is my perspective and my suggestion. You kindly
yes,
check up. Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I hope all of you have written your name and USN in the chat room.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay then. So please take care and be safe and complete the quiz on time. Yeah.